So I want to know what you guys think before we get started. Gumbo is a metaphor for life. Yes? No? And with that, welcome to the Moorpark Reporter Sportcast. I am your host, producer, editor, whatever other titles they want to give me, Dominic D'Amico. Now, as I'm sure you guys are aware, I am very disappointed today for many reasons. But first and foremost, we had two games today. We had the divisional finals picking our teams for the Super Bowl who will go forward. And in the end, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by proven cheater Tom Brady, are advancing to the Super Bowl, along with the Kansas City Chiefs. One of those is actually a big surprise. I think the Packers were kind of the favorites going in, and then the Bucks ran away with it. But I didn't watch the games. I only know my general impressions from looking up the scores every now and then. But that's why I got you guys, the Sportcast hunks. So tell me about these games. Tell me how they went. Because, I don't know.
I tried telling you guys this Green Bay defense was vulnerable. I told you it was overrated, Kennedy. I told you Jared Goff cooked, Cam Akers cooked, and that's exactly what Tampa Bay did. Tampa Bay came in. But I think the biggest story of this game was Matt LaFleur going for the field goal at the end, 2 minutes left, 31-23. They decided to kick the field goal on fourth down instead of going for it on fourth down. They took the 3 points. It makes it a 5-point game, so they got to score a touchdown anyways. Matt LaFleur really messed that one up. Even Aaron Rodgers was upset about it post-game. But another story, this Tampa Bay pass rush just got to Aaron Rodgers. Shaq Barrett, 5 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. JPP, 2 sacks, 3 tackles. That was definitely a huge piece of winning this game, especially because 2 of the Bucs safeties went out. Winfield got banged up last game, and then Whitehead, he was out early in this game. So this pass rush and Matt LaFleur got Tampa Bay to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think Brady should buy every defensive player a gift after that game because he threw 2 interceptions that could have lost them the game. It was 3 interceptions? Yeah, he could have lost them the game if it wasn't for that Tampa Bay defense that has so many good players. Shaq Barrett is so good and so underrated. The Packers, if they need to get Aaron Rodgers some more receivers. The amount of drops they have is almost as bad as the Eagles. It's scary. I feel there's not a lot of QBs that you can feel bad for, but Aaron Rodgers, that man, all he has is Devontae Adams. That's it. And the Packers relied on the passing game way too much. You can't win a game when you can only get when you're passing it 48 times and only rushing it 16. You have to have some sort of balance in there. The Packers have some work to do in the offseason to get some receivers.
Yeah, honestly, Tampa Bay really got away with a win here. Like you said, Danny, they won on the leg of Matt LaFleur's kicking decision to not go for it. I don't understand how you can, with the presumptive MVP of the season, close to your end zone with 2 minutes left, needing a score, and then a 2-point conversion to tie the game. How do you not go for it on fourth down? Is Aaron Rodgers not widely considered one of the greatest talents to ever put on a football uniform and play in the NFL? I think so. A lot of other people do. How can you not give him the opportunity? But congrats to Brady. He's making his 10th Super Bowl all time, and he's making it despite throwing 3 potentially game-changing interceptions. So props Tampa defense for keeping them in the game.
Another thing, Mitchell, about that kick is you're supposed to go for it during these big moments, right? Like big playoff moments, you're supposed to take the risk. Like if this was like maybe week 2, week 3, obviously he does the field goal because you're supposed to save these kind of plays for when it really matters. So the kick was definitely weird. Another thing that was weird, Brady threw the Rob Gronkowski once that entire game. I thought Gronkowski had COVID because I didn't see him the whole game. Then all of a sudden I see a giant polar bear running across the field making one catch. That's the weirdest thing about the whole game. And a nice thing from my point of view is Leonard Fournette, because I considered him one of the best running backs in college football. He went to a terrible team in Jacksonville, and now he's finally having an opportunity to play in a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. So I'm kind of really happy. I don't know why. I've never had any connection to Leonard Fournette, but it's nice seeing good athletes that were on bad teams go to good teams and finally playing games that matter.
Yeah, and quickly touching on I think the reason that Matt LaFleur probably kicked that field goal, which I disagree on, but you have to realize that the Packers dropped so many passes. They already dropped a 2-point conversion in the end zone earlier. Those wide receivers dropped so many passes that I don't think he didn't trust Aaron Rodgers. I think he didn't trust the receivers.
That kind of brings up the question then, with a Super Bowl appearance on the line, even if they're not catching the passes, at what point do you just go run some wild play and have fun with it? I mean,
I don't know about running a wild play, but it looked like there were a couple opportunities for just, a simple quarterback scramble run into the end zone. At least from my uneducated point of view, it looked like Rodgers had a clear shot to just tuck and run to the end zone.
Dom, there's literally like 3 quarterbacks in the entire NFL that you would ever let run wild with your plays if you're a head coach.
Well, I mean, at least from how you guys were describing it, at that point when they decide to kick a field goal, the only thing that would have saved them was a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, yeah?
I think they were down by 5 by the field goal.
I thought you said 23-31.
They were down before 8. The field goal.
Yeah, so they would have needed the touchdown to tie it up and keep the game going.
Instead of having to stop them again.
He trusted their defense to get a stop in 3 downs, and you just can't bet against Tom Brady in that moment.
But if you want to look on the other side, Tom Brady had it really had been 2 halves, different halves for Tom Brady. Yeah. The first half, Tom Brady was on fire. It took him 4 minutes in that first quarter to score. And then in the second half, like Max said, he threw 3 interceptions. So maybe if you're Matt LaFleur, you'll be like, look, Brady is on the decline this game right now. Maybe I can hold him the 4 downs, but still.
Gotcha. Moving on, distract me from the ghosts of playoffs past and take me into the ghosts of NFL future and tell me about these rumors, these rumblings.
We didn't talk about the Bills game yet.
Oh,
hey,
I thought you sneak past that, Dom.
I thought you guys just decided to ignore it. I told you to tell me about both of them, and you guys chose Bucks Packers.
Okay. Well, that's on all of us then.
All right. In that case, I guess drag me kicking and screaming back into earlier today and tell me about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills.
I'm really glad that you threw this to me first because I probably watched about 7 minutes of this entire game expecting the Chiefs to completely dominate the Bills, which is what happened. The beginning was kind of nice for Buffalo. You had a 9-0 lead, and I think, for those first 7 or 8 minutes, it felt pretty good. And then we all assumed that the Chiefs would just turn it on, and they did, and Patrick Mahomes did what Patrick Mahomes does, and Andy Reid did what Andy Reid does, and the Chiefs went on, and it's going to be the most interesting Super Bowl I think we've seen in years.
Yeah, Kennedy, like you said, everyone expected the Chiefs to run away with it. I was excited in the first minutes of the game. I was like, all right, Buffalo, thinking of Dom, like they're going to win. They scored the first 9 points of the game and the last 9 points of the game, but were outscored 38-6 in between by Patrick Mahomes, the GOAT in making. Man, that guy's special. Came back from a concussion this week. Maybe too prematurely, maybe not. Clearly his performance on the field proved that he was ready to come back, and I'm excited to see what happens in 2 weeks.
Yeah, if you're a Bills fan, I think you should be pretty content with this season. I mean, you went to the championship, or the conference championship, I should say, and you have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, man. That duo is going to be crazy in a couple of years. The Chiefs are just really unfair, though. Like that is when you talk about stacked teams, that is a stacked team. Their firepower is insane. It's going to be a really good Super Bowl matchup because the Buccaneers are also super stacked. So yeah, but definitely Bills fans shouldn't be too down tonight.
This is Mahomes. This is how Mahomes' drives ended in this game. They started off going 3 and out off a drop 40-yard bomb. Touchdown, 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 field goal, touchdown, touchdown. It's like, this is just insane. If Mahomes is playing, you're guaranteed like 30 points, just automatic 30 points on the board. But yeah, like Max said, the Bills, they have a bright future. Allen showed a lot of maturity in the second half. I thought he played a really good second half compared to that first half. But this Chiefs defense just locked up Diggs, Beasley, John Brown, Matthew, and their other corner really stepped up today. And it was just a great showing by Mahomes and the Chiefs defense.
All right. I'm kind of curious. I don't know if you guys saw anything about this, but I remember hearing something about an unsportsmanlike conduct at the end of the game. What happened there?
The game got chippy. It was just a very physical game. I think compared to the first game of the day, it really seemed like both, Kansas City and Buffalo players were feistier and more aggressive and hitting hard. And there was some unsportsmanlike conduct. I don't know what it was, but I know that they were playing hard the whole game. It was good to watch.
I'm sorry to go back to the last segment we had, but it reminded me of the end of the Bucks-Packers game when Brady and Rodgers were, congratulating each other with it. Rodgers just looked completely done with Tom Brady's bullshit. How in the hell is this 43-year-old man still winning? I have to meditate. I have to find my third eye. I have to be centered just to throw a ball 40 yards now. And this man he hasn't eaten a strawberry ever in his whole life, Tom Brady. Can you imagine your whole life and never eating a strawberry? I think there must be something to that because he looks fantastic.
Well, I eat bacon instead, but I think that's the wrong direction.
I mean, if he's not eating strawberries, he's definitely not eating bacon, right?
No, that's why
what
I said.
What kind of life is that?
That's why I said wrong direction. Now that we've had a chance to talk about Bills Chiefs, let's drag the hooks of this topic out of my heart and shove them into our next topic, the Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson trade talks. Moving on to, I guess, it's already 2021, so I guess later this year. Let's move on to that. And I also want to ask you guys, in conjunction with this, because you were talking about stacked teams, do you see any of these teams losing their edge? Are players going to try to shop around for better deals after this season? Let's go. Let's have some chat.
All right, Dom. Well, to answer your first question, yeah, of course, teams are always going to be looking to improve at every position that they can. And there's, a good, decent-sized list of teams this offseason that could really use an upgrade at quarterback. For Matt Stafford, I got 3 teams that I like him for. I like him to Denver because Denver can always use a quarterback that can throw with a big arm, and Stafford's got that. Kennedy doesn't love it, but that's okay. I like the New England Patriots because he's a proven quarterback. He's veteran. He's a little savvy. And I think Bill Belichick is going on the revenge tour. He's bringing back Matt Patricia for some defensive position. And so it's like the old squad's back together. And I like the Las Vegas Raiders because John Gruden does not seem to be happy with Derek Carr. And potentially Matt Stafford could fill that position better. And Derek Carr could still have some decent trade value where you can probably build a team around him in a different system.
Yeah, I really like those teams. I think the top team to really try and go get Deshaun, they're probably going to get Matt Stafford, or they probably have a better shot at getting Matt Stafford, is the San Francisco 49ers. They had a ton of injuries this season, and if they can get a consistent quarterback, if they can get Deshaun Watson, they have the 12th pick in the draft, then I really like them to go back to the Super Bowl. Another team that I'm interested to see if – wait, Kennedy, you're not a Miami Dolphins fan, huh? Okay, never. I'm interested to see if the Dolphins are going to make a move for Deshaun or Stafford and move off Tua already. Tua didn't look that special, and they have the 3rd pick in the draft, and they have a defense that is built to win now. So Miami and the 49ers, those are my top 2 teams.
Yeah, so Matt Stafford, this is a long time coming, and it should have been a long time coming. It's kind of like the Aaron Rodgers situation where they didn't really seem like they want to build around him and win. It's just Matt, you just feel so bad for Matt Stafford because he's so good in just such a terrible situation. But Deshaun Watson, the new era of football is here, man. He's pushing himself out of where cornerstone players are allowed to be pushed themselves out of organizations, which would have never flown 5 to 10 years ago. Le'Veon Bell kind of started that. I don't like the way he's handling it. He's just subtweeting stuff where people are trying to put stuff together. I understand why he wants out. Cal McNair is letting this organization go into the dumpster, which it's been for the past 20 years, I guess you could say. But and the only chance the Texans have to keep Deshaun Watson is hire Eric Bieniemy and trade for a Pro Bowler of some sort. Just get some Pro Bowl talent around him, and Deshaun Watson may stay. That's also coming from a Houston Texans fan. So,
Max, I don't think you've seen the reports that Deshaun is done. Deshaun wants out of there. They could hire Barack Obama as the head coach, and Deshaun Watson is not going to be a Houston Texan. So
until an official request
it could be
out,
Barack Obama could be the head coach of the no. I don't care. Like it could be Barry White. It could be you could hire the whole staff. Could be black all the way up. He feels betrayed by the Houston Texans. They did not consult him. They traded away his best player for peanuts. They didn't talk to him about GM, any of the coaching. He wants to be part of the future, but they didn't want him to be part of it. Going back to what Danny said about the Dolphins, you absolutely give the Texans the third round or the third pick in the draft for Deshaun Watson, don't you? Because you have an established defense now. You have weapons that you can put around Deshaun, and the ceiling for Deshaun Watson is way higher than what Tua's could be. So absolutely make a trade. And I don't know why it's going to become me against you three when it comes to defending mediocre white quarterbacks. But Matt Stafford, if you give anyone anything over than a 7th round pick, you are high on crack cocaine if you give anything more for Matt Stafford. This man made Calvin Johnson, the greatest wide receiver to play the game, quit the game of football because he's so bad.
I have to disagree with you. Have you seen Calvin Johnson's hands? It looks like French fries pointed in all different directions from the beating that he took playing in the NFL. Also, the ensemble cast for the Detroit Lions, complete basura. Okay, Matt Stafford has a career passing percentage well over 60%. He's got over 45,000 passing yards, and he has a similar touchdown to interception rate, if not the same exact one, as Aaron Rodgers. So to say that Matt Stafford 70 to 80%
of those stats are thrown to Calvin Johnson, and because he was the only decent player that Matt Stafford had, he got so beat up. He said, "I'm out of here. I'm no longer playing football."
So is
Kennedy,
that Matt
here's what I have to
fault or
say.
the team? Like
Kennedy, here's what I have to say is the team had a coach that went 11-5, and then they fired him for Matt Patricia, who just ruined the team. It is not Matt Stafford's fault. It is 100% the organization's fault. They did not. You can't tell me one player on the Lions not named Matt Stafford right now.
Well, see, that's the problem. Is because
Exactly.
Matt Stafford is so overrated and has been giving so much money and has so much expectation put on him. He's yet another. He's the Ryan Tannehill of football now. He's an overrated white quarterback, and I see what you three are doing. If Matt Stafford were black, I don't think I'll be supporting him. I'm accusing you all.
Kennedy, I'm
white,
on your side. I'm on your side.
Quarterback.
Nah.
All right,
definitely
DNC. Thank you, Danny.
I think Stafford is definitely overrated, but I think he can be good enough to take a team. If it's not on him, like if not everything's gonna be on him, I think he could take a team deep in the playoffs. But I definitely think he's overrated. He's had weapons. Calvin Johnson.
What's the hype?
Today. He gets running backs. They don't do anything every year.
Quick question for all three of you. What's the highest draft pick you give for Matt Stafford? Man, if he's elite, you automatically say first round, don't you? Nope, you had to think about it because he's trash.
I didn't say he was elite. There's a big gap between elite and trash. Kennedy, you give me a headache sometimes, bro. You're fun to talk to, but you give me headaches. But no, I think two second round draft picks would be probably pretty good, or a second round and like a
I'd love
fourth
to trade
round.
with you, Max.
I don't know. Looking at what I've read about some of the asking prices, like for Deshaun Watson, and trying to compare where they are in their careers right now, what their potential is, what their ceiling, what their floor is. Obviously, Matt Stafford is not going to be as hot a commodity as Deshaun, but they're asking 2 first, 2 second, and like a pretty good player for Deshaun Watson. So I would say, I don't know. I don't know how often like 1-for-1 trades happen in the NFL, but like maybe you take on Matt Stafford and some cash considerations to help the burden of the contract, and you unload some late round picks and I don't know, an player.
Mitch, I do think you are right, though, with putting Denver in the conversation for getting Matt Stafford, because I think even though Elway isn't in charge anymore, don't believe any of that. Elway has always been in charge since the second he took a snap at practice.
I also don't think that they're going to trade Matt Stafford within the NFC.
No, absolutely.
And I don't think they're going to trade Deshaun within the AFC. You like Miami, but like I don't think they're willing to trade him, or they're going to have to potentially face him every year.
I think if you have
Maybe
Deshaun Watson wanting out and you have a team like Miami offering you a third round or the third pick in the draft, and it's a pretty good quarterback class, I think you got to take. You obviously ask for a little bit more than just the one pick, but if they're giving you Tua, the first round pick, and then a couple others, I mean, I think you pulled the trigger, especially if Deshaun has zero interest in playing with you.
Yeah. So the thing with that is, if I'm the Texans, I am not accepting. I'm not even talking to any team that's not willing to give me 3 first-round picks. Deshaun Watson is not only MVP caliber, but he will likely go into the Hall of Fame with just what we've seen from the past 3 years. We know he has that potential to do that. Tua is he's not good enough right now. And I need at least 3 first-round picks. At least 3 first-round picks.
Well, does he?
What will be
question?
Really
does Watson have to play for them? Like he's to stay on the
contract,
team, but does he have to like? Can he refuse to play? Can he just say no?
He loses money every time he misses a game.
I was just about to say that. I was about to say that though. But what if he pulls a James Harden or I guess not really a Kyrie Irving, but what if he pulls a player empowerment move where he's like, you know what, fine, a Le'Veon Bell, yeah, that's a perfect example, and says I'm not going to play. I think Deshaun Watson has earned that power, and it's not like NBA players don't just stay in that NBA bubble and only talk to the NBA players. They talk with NFL players, and they're saying, hey, look at all the power that we have and that we're able to use to get the things that we want. And the NFL players are going to start looking at that, and they're going to start expressing their power, and we're seeing it with Deshaun.
I mean, Max, do you think that Houston's going to move off of JJ Watt? Does that impact what they do with Deshaun and what they're asking back for him?
No, I do think that they're going to accommodate JJ Watt. I think they should, after everything he's done for the organization and the city. He needs to go to a Super Bowl contender right now. But yeah, I don't know if that really affects the Deshaun the trade. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks and just in the off season for the Texans. But yeah, I'm getting ready to hop off the Texans bandwagon or not bandwagon, but Texans fandom. And I might follow Deshaun Watson wherever he goes, to be honest with you.
Forgive my ignorance, Max, but what has JJ Watt been interested in being traded?
Yeah.
So what's the story with that?
I just think that he knows the organization's going into the dumpster as well. And I think he just wants to win somewhere else. And I honestly wouldn't mind sending him to like a Green Bay, play for the hometown, still has a better chance to win a Super Bowl. And I think this next year might be the last year on his contract too.
Honestly, if he doesn't go to Kansas City or wherever Tom Brady plays, no one's going to a Super Bowl.
All right. Well, that was some good chat right there. A lot of back and forth. Y'all had a lot to say there. And that's good. That's views, baby. But now we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we'll be right back for some NBA chat. And, of course, a little bit of chat about the late, great GOAT, Hank Aaron. See you soon. Welcome back to the Moorpark Reporter Sportcast. We're all still here, and we are here for some NBA chat. Now, this is interesting because this time I don't even know what we're going to talk about. We got a little pick a mix of stories here. All right. So each of our lovely presenters here has brought their own NBA story they want to talk about, and I want to hear it. So let's go.
Yeah, so a surprise for me. I'm not going to be talking about the Rockets, even though I know Danny saw that KJ Martin block on Boban. That was pretty crazy. But I'm going to be talking about Joel Embiid, and I think he's the MVP so far this year. The Sixers are at a 12-5 record, and he's averaging 27.7 points per game, 3 assists per game, and 11.5 rebounds per game. He's doing pretty well. And he had a 45-point game this season, which is pretty crazy. Also, real quick, the Wizards are just in shambles, man. Russ hasn't scored over 24 points. But yeah, I'm not going to be taking too much time on that.
Hey, free Beal.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, Joel Embiid's the MVP so far this season, which is crazy to say.
Definitely, Joel Embiid has been having a great season. But you know who else has been having a really good season, and he might also win Comeback Player of the Year? Mr. Kevin Durant, the Slim Reaper. I raise you 31 points a game, 7 rebounds, almost 6 assists, shooting 47% from the 3. And Brooklyn's really leaned on him lately to carry the load. And we'll see if his body can hold up. But that brings me to my question is, who do you think is going to win the East? Because I honestly don't know. Joel Embiid has got the Sixers at that top seed. We're about 20 games in. They're 12-5. I don't know what you guys are thinking. And also, the surprise for me this season has been Jaylen Brown for the Celtics. Everybody knew how great Jason Tatum was, but Brown's averaging 27 a game, 6 rebounds, almost 4 assists, shooting over 40%. And with all the COVID issues really hindering the Celtics right now, Jaylen Brown has definitely been a bright light for them.
I don't entirely disagree with you, Mitchell, about Kevin Durant being the comeback player of the year. I almost kind of disagree in a way that he may be too good to be the comeback player of the year, if that makes any weird sense. He might just win the MVP for all we know. I want to talk about what I think the most interesting NBA story is, and that's that Dwayne Wade wants to make a OnlyFans account with his wife, Gabrielle Union. And I think that is the most insane thing that I've ever heard. Clearly, Dwayne Wade is enjoying retirement better than any NBA player that I've ever seen. The way he dresses, the what he does. He's really good on the TNT show on Thursdays. I think he and Shaq obviously have a great chemistry where Shaq's the big brother and he picks on Dwayne Wade. And he's just getting crazier. I want to ask you guys, would you even pay for an OnlyFans of Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union? I don't think I would, but I'd definitely be tempted to check out the homepage.
You know, it's for motivational stuff, right, Kennedy?
As he said, whether or not there's nudity.
No, there's 100% Dwayne Wade nudity. I doubt you'll even see Gabrielle Union nude, but you will 100% see Dwayne Wade nude.
So we all love talking about winning teams, but I'm gonna bring out the New Orleans Pelicans, 5-10, 14th in the West. They just lost 3 straight games, one to the Timberwolves, twice to the Jazz. This backcourt of Lonzo Ball and Bledsoe. We know Bledsoe, he's good in the regular season, not so much in the postseason, but their backcourt duo of 2 guards that can't shoot and that need to drive the ball. They're good on defense, but I mean, how much does defense matter? JJ Redick, he's having an off year. So they need to do a better job of building around Zion and BI this offseason. Maybe that means not re-signing Lonzo, trading Bledsoe. But when you have Zion and BI, 2 players that need the ball, not the best facilitators, they definitely need to put some more shooters around them.
It's crazy when you think about, like, when you watch ESPN and whenever there's a Pelicans game being promoted, you would think that Zion Williamson is the best player on the Pelicans, but really it's Brandon Ingram. Like, they need to build around Brandon Ingram right now instead of Zion.
Really quick. Oh wait, Mitch, do you want to say something? Okay, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. I know that I've already talked about my story, but have you guys seen how disrespectful Shaq has been getting lately? He's been saying some foul stuff, saying that Donovan
Yeah.
Mitchell doesn't have all that. What?
I mean,
that doesn't make any sense.
Saying
I'd
someone
like you
doesn't
guys-
have all that
I
is
would say-
considered foul.
I would say
No,
that
it wasn't like that. He said like some he said like some people don't deserve their he said a bunch of like bad stuff about people's like contracts
Yeah.
and who
Just
deserves money and who
disrespecting
doesn't.
young
well,
players.
he was also saying that because there's been a lot of talk about Rudy Gobert's contract that like do get you like 10 points and 10 rebounds or plus, but doesn't really do anything else. And a lot of people giving a lot of crap on does Rudy Gobert deserve that contract? And Shaq has been a big defender of that, saying that of course you need a big man that's going to guarantee you boards and getting the ball back. But I do agree that his takes have been getting a little spicy. But on the Donovan Mitchell take, there was a statistic that out of all people, Charles Barkley brought up, and we all know Chuck to be the great mathematician that he is. But he brought a good point that was Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, he'll get you points. He'll get his buckets, but he's not filling up the stat sheet as much as he could when it comes to assists or rebounds. I don't know how much I buy into that, but I do agree that a complete player should be able to get all of those stats.
I don't know about that. I mean, he's getting 5 and 5. I'm pretty sure 5 and 4. Maybe that's pretty good for a shooting guard, especially when you're only 6'3". And we've seen what he can do in this postseason. He's carrying these Utah Jazz players. We saw him duel it out this past postseason. They lost in 7 games, I think, 2 postseasons ago. He dueled it out against Lillard. I mean, if he can get a second star, I'm sure it'll be a completely different narrative. Just Rudy Gobert, he's not that second star that they need.
Well, real quick, I just want to ask, I mean, isn't the most important thing in the NBA winning games rather than filling up stat sheet? I mean, isn't maybe like the fact that he's not filling up the stat sheet and just scoring points a reflection of how the team is coordinating their plays? Or
I mean, more in a sense of getting your teammates involved. I think they're being a little hard on him. I think they're expecting him to dish out more assists and more on the level that James Harden does, or a little bit under that. But that's hard to do, and not everybody is James Harden. He's definitely the upper echelon of players, and I agree with Max. He was too hard on him, but some of the stats are telling.
The point that I was trying to make is that Shaquille O'Neal is always looking to make a viral moment, always looking to go viral. If you listen to anyone who knows Shaq personally, that he's always trying to go viral. So I think why we're seeing really hot takes from Shaq is he's just hoping to make his 15 minutes on Twitter.
All right. Well, with that, thank you for educating me a little bit about the current state of the NBA. And we are going to move on to the final topic of our show for today, the late, great Hank Aaron. Perhaps the all-time great of baseball. I'm going to toss this to our very own Mitchell Ross first. So let's hear it.
Yeah, Dom, like you said, one of the greatest players ever. I think he often gets overlooked because he played at the same time as Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and some of the more flashier players, Roberto Clemente. But yeah, look, Hank Aaron, 755 home runs. Everybody knows that's his number. For the longest time, for over 30 years, it stood as the home run record until Barry Bonds surpassed him in 2007. But if you ask any true baseball fan, everybody knows 755 is the number. He's got a lot of great stats. He's got over 2,000 RBIs. He has over 3,000 hits. He has so many hits that if you took away all of his home runs, he would still have over 3,000 hits. The man somehow managed to get selected to the All-Star game 25 times in 23 seasons. If that's not telling about how great of a player he was, I don't know what is. But more than anything, more than he was a greater person than he was a player, he played during a very tough time in America to be a Black professional athlete. He played in the divided Jim Crow South. and to be a man of, great courage to go out there every day and to kind of turn the other cheek to all the racist remarks he was getting and the hate letters. It takes a bigger man to do that than it does to hit 755 home runs. So, I mean, he'll be greatly missed. 87 years old. What a life.
It's pretty hard to eulogize a man who really is an icon and a legend, especially when it's not from your time. It almost would be me eulogizing Thomas Jefferson. That's how historic Hank Aaron was. Just to bring up Mitch's point about Willie Mays, there was actually a $50 difference in Aaron playing with Willie Mays. The Atlanta Braves offered him $50 more in his contract, and he just said, look, I go where the money goes, and he wouldn't have played in Atlanta. One thing I want people to keep in mind when looking at Hank Aaron, how he struggled through being a black man playing in the South and going after this, essentially this white man's record and a white man's sport. This wasn't that long ago. Like my grandparents lived through this time. My parents sort of lived through this time. So we are not really that far removed from the tragedies of our nation and how we treat a certain group of people. And we still treat that group. It's better, but it's not anywhere acceptable. So when you are talking about the great legacy of Hank Aaron, and you look at people like Colin Kaepernick who kneel for the exact same causes, and you boo Colin Kaepernick, I really question if you kind of get the full message of what we talk about when talking about great men like Hank Aaron.
Man, you hit it right on, Kennedy. I can't imagine what he went through. Just like you said, Mitch and Kennedy, just living in the South through the 60s, breaking the white men records. Just his consistency is just insane. Like you said, Mitch, I'll add one more stat. He averaged 100 RBIs per season. It's just insane. That's 23 seasons long. One of the GOATs. Rest in peace.
Yeah, and it's really sad. All those crazy records, and just to do it during that time is insane. There's a story where when he was growing up, it's not like he only felt the racism when he was playing baseball. When he was growing up as a kid, the KKK would march down his street, and he had to hide in his house. It's really sad. I agree, Kennedy. You said it right on the head. It's sad how even our grandparents who could still be alive lived through this, and history books and history teachers almost make it feel like it was hundreds of years ago, but it was 60 years ago, and it's sad. But yeah, we lost a true legend, Hank Aaron.
I want to just real quick, because you brought up a great story. There's another story about Henry Aaron where when he was a kid, he would tell his dad, I want to be, a professional baseball player. And his dad told him, try to think of something else because there are no black baseball players. Hank Aaron was 13 years old in 1947 when Jackie Robinson was the first black player ever. He said him playing in baseball would not be possible without Jackie Robinson. And I think for a lot of other, African-American players, and as we start to see in the 60s and 70s, the influx of, Latino and Hispanic players, Hank was like a trailblazer for them. And to lose such an important icon at such a divided time in our country, it really makes you think we were not so far away from this, and we are not quite at the end of the tunnel of making things a more equal and equitable place for all.
Yeah. Well said, all of you. And for anyone interested in learning a little more, there's an article from 538 which gets into how just incredible this person was. I mean, you guys talked about Mickey Mantle. Even Mickey Mantle called Hank Aaron the best baseball player of his age. You guys talked about 755 home runs. That was his number. And it took Barry Bonds to beat it, who, if I'm remembering right, was kicked out of the league for using steroids, right?
Bonds was never officially convicted of it, but everybody.
If you saw the bulging vein out of his forehead,
yeah,
you would know that he's juicing.
In the baseball community, 755 is still the number.
So 755 is still the number to beat, and they even point out that he had the most consecutive years with at least 24 home runs. For 19 years, he had at least 24 home runs. He had 15 consecutive seasons at 6 wins above replacement. He still sits at the top of so many records.
Yeah.
And for someone to do that so many years after leaving the game, I don't think anyone's coming along anytime soon who's going to take away Hank Aaron's legacy.
Unlikely.
Yeah. And with that, thank you all very much for your contributions today. Tell us your names, where our viewers can find you on social media, and let's go.
At D Stepanovich on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, you can find me at Mitch Ross Report on Twitter, Instagram, and I think that's about it.
Kennedy C. Collier on Twitter.
_ Max Clark, Twitter and Instagram. You can find me tweeting Cal McNair and Jack Easterby to leave the organization.
There we are. Have a wonderful day.